Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, January 16th. And first bit of news or business is I've decided to get rid of the clickbait ads, joke titles. Really it's just that was another step that I had to do every stream. And we've been trying it for at least a year, it feels like, and it hasn't gotten any new viewers. So from now on, the titles are just going to say Hearthstone and video game news, HD 1080p 60 frames per second. Might go away too, I don't know. I still kind of feel like that helps a little bit, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's ridiculous, pointless title information too. Inherently, YouTube's title naming system is kind of ridiculous and unhelpful, and it doesn't seem like anything you do in YouTube does you any favors to get any new views, period. We have a tavern brawl we need to do today. We need to also, I suppose if I could maybe play Murlocs in the tavern brawl, I could do the dungeon run true today, because we have a decent amount of news. We're starting a little bit late, about an hour late, at 3:30, which, I mean, there was certainly times when we were starting at 3:30 or 4 to stream, and there's just some inconsistencies. There's always been inconsistencies with the times of the release dates. I stayed up a little late playing Minecraft, although I'm playing Minecraft basically off screen for many hours in between the actual episodes because there's just so much mining to go. Tragic Master is already in the chat, says good day, good luck in the games today. Thank you, Tragic. Might have been helpful if I had actually read what the tavern brawl was, but we'll get to that. So we have a decent amount of news, a decent amount of new games. Like clockwork, as soon as we get halfway through January, that first two-week pay period, so it's the 16th today, that means, you know, 14 days have happened since the start of the new year. People can actually start to think about actually announcing games and releasing games again, instead of that dead period that seems to happen for all of December and everything after Black Friday. Right. I could play this, and I guess it might help.
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Metastorm.
There's a couple of bits of extra information. It was a very Schadenfreude being the German terminology where one gains pleasure from another person's displeasure or pain. It was a very Schadenfreude-istic experience to listen to the Giant Bombcast this week, which I guess the end of the year conversations didn't affect me as much as I thought they would, because I was kind of going into them on Giant Bomb where I was not gonna even make it through them. I was just gonna stop listening to them. But they had to cover as actual news, since it is actual news, the Randy Pitchford countersuit versus Callan, their legal, their former legal counsel. Jeff Gerstmann really was skeeved out by the whole salacious details that I'd recommend you listen to the previous stream if you want to get them all, but still had Felton kind of had to go through it. He did reveal a little bit more information, although I'm not sure if he also revealed he didn't really look at any of this information. It's just shoddy journalism, frankly. Because this is a really big story to talk about it when you don't have that information is a mistake. If he could have waited till next week if that's really what it had to come down to. But he said that Calendar and Randy Pitchford had been friends. I think that's pretty obvious. They ran, it seems like they ran a company together, and they had a falling out. He said that the Piff podcast that Randy Pitchford was on aired the day after the accusations of the barely legal, although Calendar says it, labeled it as underage pornography, came out. So like I had said in the previous stream, Randy Pitchford's a magician. Everything he could have been doing could have been damage control for months and months and months. So, and he could make it look like things are not the way they are. But also, lawyers sometimes are kind of like magicians, and they can phrase things in legal briefs that that make it sound a lot more worse than it actually was. So yeah, there's bits and pieces that came out to make the story a little more fleshed out. The most interesting one that I heard was that kind of before all of this happened, Calendar had filed a complaint with the state, I guess, of Texas, since Gearbox is in Dallas, where he had filed a complaint against Gearbox for religious discrimination, which is kind of an interesting one, certainly, that somebody in Texas would be religiously discriminated against, because to my understanding, people in Texas are pretty pro-religion, and so I guess unless Calendar was of some obscure non-Christian religion, I don't see how that would happen. So when you rephrase that and put that back into the timeline, you have somebody who was friends with Randy Pitchford. They had a falling out, and this went really, really bad. Maybe the falling out happened before or after the discrimination, if that really did happen. There's certainly a lot of stuff here that I'd like to see come out in court cases, but inherently it's not going to. We'll never get a satisfying ending. We can pretty much guarantee it. Let's see. Interesting. Could I get? Let's see. Wonder if I could summon an awesome invention. Yeah, if I could get 2 more mechs on the field, that would be cool. But yeah, I don't also want to hash out that entire story, because that was a really, really long story. I guess inherently too that it's not saying anything new to say Giant Bomb really is not a investigative journalist organization. It just isn't. It doesn't really seek out any stories, and even if I like, the only person that really did any investigative journalism was Patrick Klepek, and I have problems with him for other reasons, but I mean, he was the really only person on there that seems to seek out any real news that isn't just handed to you and is direct advertisement. And even then, Giant Bomb doesn't really get any of that because it all goes to GameSpot. So they're kind of this weird, pointless source of news. Fairly, I think it would be fair to say that so am I in a lot of ways. Okay, that's a mech. Can I
You might feel a little tingle.
transfer? Yeah, if I could just get another mech on the field. Give me another mech on the field.
This will be grisly.
So I guess we kind of want to get through the news. I kind of want to get back to Minecraft, although I kind of need to just do an episode on Minecraft to show all the stuff I've done off screen so that those bits and pieces are somewhat connected. I tried to defeat the Ender Chicken in Stone Block 2, but it didn't. Let's see, it's server turn if you have at least 3. Let's see. Let's do this.
I'll
And
get right on it.
then this. And this.
Too soon. You have awakened me too soon, executors.
And
Time for a change.
that. And then the turn. Yeah, I tried to defeat the Ender Chicken. The Ender Chicken was not in any way easier to defeat than the Ender Dragon, other than the fact that I guess maybe the Ender Chicken runs around. They really failed in Stone Block 2 to have an area that's big and open for the Ender Chicken, so he just, as he's spawning, destroys in stone walls all around him, which doesn't matter. It's an entire world of nothing but in stone. Let's see. A 1 in 5 victory chance. There is a Chaos Chicken, which is a modded Chaos Dragon version, that, yeah, if I can't on easy mode even defeat the Ender Chicken, I had to actually cheat and go into peaceful to despawn it just to get my items back. Otherwise, it's still Stone Block 2 is like way more heavily built around the idea of let's it's very much built around the idea of breeding chickens and crossbreeding fluid cows, and crossbreeding fluid cows is not a perfect system, so I don't even know why that exists. It seems like you have to make a rainbow generator in Stoneblock 2. It doesn't feel like you can make any kind of other energy source, which is ridiculous. And things are just so off. The Thaumcraft, like, it's a mod I just don't think I appreciate in Minecraft, and it's all gets into this realm of magic that doesn't really do anything. And to start the quest and do the challenge, you have to go to sleep, and there's no reason why you'd ever build a bed and go to sleep in Stonecraft. No reason at all. There's no sky, it's never dark. Mobs are gonna spawn 24/7 because there's no sky. It's a ridiculous idea that you'd ever think of that. Apparently the game prompts you the first time you mine Viz crystals, but I missed that prompt, and so that was a problem. But you can't go anywhere until you go to sleep, because when you go to sleep you didn't have the strange dream. You write this book that's called Strange Dreams at that point, and once you've done that, then you can make Salus Mundus. And well, you could make Salus Mundus before then, which that is probably the problem there, is if you can't make the Salus Mundus, it would explain it a lot better. Of course, then what you would have to do is make a crafting recipe that uses the Strange Dreams books as a crafting piece to make Salus Mundus, and that would have explained everything really easily. But that's not how it's said, so that's just been a terrible experience. And then the other things like Project E and Draconic Evolution, the crazy thing is the chickens, I'm 2 more crossbreedings away with chickens before I have a Raken Draconium chicken. But then there's a lot of other chickens out there that make other kinds of items that I think I'm gonna just consistently need anyways. Things like rubber to make silicon, or not silicon, yeah, plastic, or string chicken to make string. That wasn't on the challenge, but you end up needing wool a lot to make elevators, and you kind of need the elevators to get around, because I'm tired of going up and down ladders. And then you need an ender pearl chicken to make ender pearls to do quite a few things. But in this whole process, there is also a issue where
This is going to be amazing.
like, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, in the process of doing all of this, I've lost access to just the ex-nihilo sifting gravel, cobblestone, and all that. And so what I spent most of the hours I spent on, okay.
Watch this.
Check this. There we go. I guess moving on, since I keep losing my train of thought, man, I really just woke up, frankly, so I didn't put in the proper you need an hour to get going effort. We've got a game on Steam called Takanaria, which doesn't look like an RPG game, so, well, not like an RPG Maker game, so I'm willing to give this one a little bit of a chance, although it does seem kind of lacking. Black bars on the side. This looks like it might be a simplistic platformer style game. You can see that it seems like you're mostly just seeing people walking around talking. It's English, simplified Chinese, and Japanese, and it's free. So, but it's rated positively, so I'll put this on the wish list, on the follow list. Let's come back over here. What are we doing? 6.
Keep it quick, kid. I ain't got all day.
There we go. GameIndustry.biz has an article. A law firm investigating Activision Blizzard on behalf of the investors. Pomerantz LLP looking into claims that the company leadership engaged in securities fraud, other unlawful practices. The speculation I've heard is that they kind of knew this was coming, if this is being announced publicly. And that might explain a lot of what's going on with Activision Blizzard these days. If it really is a case of them looking towards, you know, getting into major trouble, Activision, putting the Blizzard, having the Blizzard side of people leave the sinking ship would be explained a little bit more, although there's a lot of factors that would explain that, certainly. Bungie most recently leaving Activision and taking Destiny. This might very well be an effort, a continued, possibly illegal effort of Activision to divest itself and cut itself away from all the profitable money-making parts of the Activision Blizzard Bungie combination, and leave only this shell company of Activision that can be sued, that won't have any real money or profits. If this lawsuit went through and Activision had already is allowed to transfer like Destiny to Bungie, then it may very well be a little bit harder for, that's a pretty bad pack, might be a little bit harder for this law firm to get any of the profits that Destiny is making. Let's see. Tragic Master said, "Low return of Cho. Good game. Good luck with the pack. Thank you." Let's see. Let's just do the dungeon boss run, since that's gonna hang over our heads this whole time. I did finish the Rumble, the Rusticon's Rumble. I think I said that. So I'm never basically going to do that again. Let's see. What was I playing last time? This is so ridiculous because once you've done this and you're just doing it for daily quests, you do like 3 games, which leaves you in the middle of something. A law firm investigating something on behalf of the investors might also be a method of a hostile takeover, which might not be a terrible thing for Activision. Let's see. The law firm offered few details of the nature of the suit, but specifically referenced Bungie and Activision's split, as well as the sharp drop in Activision's stock price following the announcement. So, yeah, this could be the beginning of a lawsuit. It could be the beginning of a hostile takeover. Honestly, a hostile takeover, though, of shareholders and stockholders of Activision is not going to make it any better. It would be much better unless this were a case that there was one specific person who wanted to and knew how to run Activision better than what it's being run now, which might be the case. But that's not generally what happens in the video game world. Usually, it's if somebody creates a company, that they just move on and create another company because the company's name and brand is not really worth that much, particularly in the video game industry, because by the time it is available for purchase again, it's been dragged through the mud. Like, Activision is a great example of that. If you were talking mid-90s Activision, you would be talking major games that were big time AAA successes. But today's Activision is just nothing. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Rift Keeper, which looks like a Dark Souls kind of game, hack and slash RPG. It is rated mostly positive, and while it's a little dark screenshots, but it's not too bad that I think I can immediately discount this game. So 20% off for $7.99. I'll put that on the fall list and we'll think about that. Speaking about thinking about games, the game Murdered Soul Suspect was 90% off and for just a weekly sale. And usually I don't go in for doing things like that, but buying games just on weekly sales. But it was one of those Japanese style games that typically a lot of Japanese owned companies don't go in for the summer sales. So yeah, I grabbed that. I also grabbed $1 on the Double Fine Humble Bundle. I didn't. The Double Fine Humble Bundle had only been out for like a day, and it was already at an average price of $7 for the other games for the second tier, and it just was not worth it for that. But 3 games for $1 is a better deal than, particularly when you're donating it all to charity, than it would be to pay 69 cents, or even if you could get a game on Steam for 59 cents for one game. And at a certain level, it is getting to the point where it's a little less likely that you'll be able to get good deals on games, because you'd have to buy some kind of bundle that had like 10 games for roughly 30 cents if you're going for those deep discounts.
My shield for Argon.
Let's keep on playing. I have to kind of remember too, I'm playing against a computer right now, so that computer mentality is slightly different than what you'd normally play against. We have a game on Steam here called Bahama Conch and Burger Shack, which looks like it's a troll game if I ever would guess. Even if it isn't a troll game, it's also a terrible cook-serve delicious game for $2.99, so that's certainly not something that interests me. 7 boombots? Seriously? Can I even get enough people off the field to make sense to summon 7 boombots? Let's do it. That's 6 at least. Not too bad. GameIndustry.biz has this article that I kind of already talked about. Former Gearbox lawyer reportedly filed a discrimination claim ahead of the November lawsuit. 10 days before Gearbox sued Wade Calendar, he filed a discrimination claim against CEO Randy Pitchford alleging religious harassment. And like, what do you really take from this? Yeah, this is clearly an extremely nasty, I guess it's divorce. Like, to me, and maybe this is just a flight of fancy in my mind, it sounds like the two were having a secret, like, homosexual love affair, even if it wasn't actually expressed or physically or anything. It seems like this is a bad breakup, much more than just a friendship or a
Pay attention, class.
work relationship. Let's see if there's any more details in here.
I'm ready to
The claim alleges that Pitchford harassed him throughout his time at Gearbox for his Christian faith.
To my side.
A large amount of magicians, I would say, are atheists. And a decent amount of atheists decide that is the fact that they don't believe in a god gives them a good reason to act like a jerk and harass other people. Although there are a lot of very less outspoken atheists around that simply don't do that, and thus they never get really outed or recognized. So yeah, so I could totally see a magician and an atheist, and particularly I could totally see Randy Pitchford for the many times I've seen him do that. It's really believable. Quote, during my employment with Respondent, brackets Gearbox Software, I've been subjected to unfair standards and expectations based on my religion. Claim reads, Mr. Randy Pitchford, President and CEO, would constantly harass me based on my religious beliefs. Mr. Pitchford would state that my religious beliefs were retarded and indicative of a broken brain. Mr. Pitchford would often visit my office with gifts ridiculing Christianity. If that is true, I hope he kept some of that for evidence. The claim states that harassment began in June 2010. It's 2019 now, 8 years, that's his entire, which was the time when Calendar began working at Gearbox. Calendar says he reported the harassment to HR at an unspecified date, but it became more severe following the report. After I responded I could no longer tolerate the president's persistent hostile work environment and wanted to commence with my exit negotiations. Mr. Pitchford immediately notified other players that he was accepting my resignation, which was non-existent. The claim continues. I was immediately restricted from my Gearbox email account, personnel, resources, and access to the building. I believe I was retaliated against and terminated from my position based on my religion, parentheses, Christian. So,
Job's done.
yeah, yeah. Every one of these filings seems to make Randy Pitchford sound worse and worse and worse. And the thing is, there's kind of there's been no reporting here that really says anything about Calendar. I think Randy Pitchford, at best, in one like live video or podcast that I watched, which Randy Pitchford throughout as soon as this stuff started coming out, he started going on kind of more podcasts. He started going on, he made his own Gearbox podcast thing. He started going out trying to, I guess, create evidence, but he's doing a pretty terrible job at that anyways. Jeff Gersman said it very accurately, is like, with the porn USB on the USB hub, why try to explain that away as, oh, she was a magician, and that's why I had that one video of this barely legal or underage lady. Why not just say, yeah, this was just a cam girl video I saved? Why try to explain it as, oh, she's a magician and that's the reason? Because in the lie it sounds even more ridiculous and less believable. Like, it might have been smarter and wiser, just even if it was the truth, to just phrase it so it sounds more believable. Say something that's slightly less accurate for believability sake. Let's see. Guess I didn't have any friendly beasts.
The breach.
Like, so yeah, the only thing I've heard him say that brings anything against Calendar is the idea that he's like totally crazy, that he's known for making stuff up. I mean, this is just a standard mudslinging accusations, the kinds of stuff that Trump's former fixer would have said and did say about people. Things that, not to get political, Trump has certainly said about even his former lawyer, but he's not really citing any incidences. Like, the thing that would ruin Calendar's claims is if you could bring about a history of false claims that this lawyer has made before,
Back to your homes.
or a history of bad actions. Let's see. So, this GameIndustry.biz article kind of just recaps the rest of the story. It's not super long, so it's not going in great detail. But, yeah. It kind of feels like Randy Pitchford wanted him out at the end, but it also kind of feels like they were friends before then. So something bad happened here at some point, it feels. I guess we'll take this. And this really feels like this is a story that's going to keep on going. 2019 will not be the year of the pirate game. It will not be the year. What was 2019 going to be the year of, anyways? I was gonna say it was gonna be the year of studios closing, down, and I still think that there's a decent chance for that. But if this continues down this road, 2019 is going to be the year of Randy Pitchford's downfall. And it's kind of already happened. Like, for decades, people have not liked Randy Pitchford inside the video game industry, inside the video game journalist industry. Nobody likes him, and this I think there's a lot of people hoping this is the thing, true or not, that just gets him gone forever. If he had any bit of credibility, he would be taking at least a sabbatical. Like, he's totally not needed for Gearbox to succeed. There is this podcast called the No Clip Podcast that is kind of starting up anew, and it has the guy who wrote Borderlands 1 and 2 but no longer works for Gearbox, but he doesn't work for Gearbox because he has multiple sclerosis. He's also the voice of Scooter, and that's kind of the reason why in Tales from the Borderlands they killed off Scooter, which how many people actually know that or could even play Tales from the Borderlands at this point. So let's see. I gotta play some protection here. So he was on the No Clip Podcast, just kind of talking with, I believe his name is Danny O'Dwyer, or somebody else that used to work for Giant Bomb. They really didn't talk too much about video games, too much. He briefly, in some instances, referenced a few things in Gearbox 1, maybe in Borderlands 1 or Borderlands 2, a few things that may have been mentioned, but that's kind of it. He did say Randy Pitchford was a good boss, but I mean, he's out of that, and so why would you burn bridges now? He definitely didn't split on bad terms. If anything, he was treated incredibly well, because they let him stay employed for at least a year, in which he had kind of done no work at all. Although, in all honesty, he might have legally been allowed to stay employed or go on permanent disability forever because of his multiple sclerosis. So yeah, he's like, all he's doing now is a movie podcast, and his multiple sclerosis makes it impossible for him to play games, which makes it kind of impossible for him to be involved in video games. Although he only needed to be a writer, so I don't see a reason why he couldn't at least be a writer and verbally dictate things if he wanted to. But yeah, whatever. The guy is super like disabled. So Borderlands has to move on, and one is hoping that it will continue to move on and kind of have even more of a feel of Borderlands 1 than Borderlands 2 or Borderlands pre-sequel, I imagine, has. I'm not sure if I'm going to listen consistently to No Clip though, because they're not really doing a lot. moving on, we have a game on Steam called Rainbow Reactor, which looks like a VR game where you're mixing blobs of color and then throwing them to make like a match 3. So it's kind of like a hex grid based Puyo Puyo Tetris type game. Let's see if we can skip this video forward. So the idea of throwing things is a slightly interesting idea. Where are we? Are we over here so you can actually see? So yeah, there's these blobs that you can put together and merge colors, and then you're just tossing it. So the tossing part is the part that's probably not going to work very well. Let's see. Early access, VR, $5.99. It's not really doing enough though, frankly. So that's definitely a factor I would consider also, is that it's just not bringing you a lot of varied gameplay environment, and the throwing in VR sounds like a bad idea.
Speak to me.
TechRaptor has an article. Activision woes compounded through investigations and a new CFO. Let's see. Last week it was announced Activision will be. Let's see. That's not the part we need to talk about because we already heard this. Yeah, they fired the CFO Spencer Newman on January 1st after he was found to be discussing with Netflix a position which he took at the streaming giants. Yes, I forgot about that. Jeez, Activision has just been doing dirt. It seems like for a while now. I guess this article really is just a combination on TechRaptor of 3 other articles to paint a more broad picture, and I guess I kind of needed that. Speaking of painting a broader picture, Gamma Sutra has an article. Sergey Galyonkin clarifies on how the Epic Game Store targets influencers. Sergey Galyonkin apparently was the person who was making Steam Spy and running Steam Spy, but apparently was also running that wall for a significant amount of that time, working for Epic and working kind of for Epic to make a new game store. So in a weird way, it's almost like he was using Steam as a system to build the information and the data and build a competitor. It would be sort of the equivalent if like a car company bought their competitors' cars and then disassembled the competitors' cars to learn as many insider secrets and industrial secrets as possible. It's kind of the opposite of what they would call a clean room development, in which you were given a list of specifications that you wanted the to be in a new storefront, but you weren't actively looking at anybody else's products. And there's definitely been some weirdness on how this Epic Game Store seems to think it's going to run, where he's throwing out I think really he is just throwing out a lot of ideas to see how they stick, but he's throwing out ideas like promoting the Epic Store, setting a set price for referral links to other games that would then let them pick winners and losers and try to push any influencers who happen to be playing games on the Epic Store to kind of only promote the games that the Epic Store picks as its winner or loser. If that is how I'm understanding it, like, at least. And it just seems like it's kind of getting into some weird shenanigans, trying to court influencers certainly, but it's also kind of just making a mess in the start. And this guy is really not the guy to be launching, Sergey. He's really not the guy to be launching a new storefront. It's one thing if he was in the background doing the code, but clearly he's not the one to be promoting it, because he's not speaking clearly, he's not making it obvious, he's doing AMAs when he should have perfectly worded press releases. Let's come over here and play some Murlocs, because I am fairly certain we're going to go long today. Let's see. As of right now, according to this article, if Epic currently has a system that allows developers to provide influencers with game codes that come with referral links to the game, offering influencers a cut of the game sale when let's see, when the link is used. Sorry, I scrolled away. As of right now, Epic covers the default 5% cut, although developers can decrease or increase the cut. The program is reportedly not intended to be permanent, leading to the speculation that devs will be asked to cover all costs in the future, with indies paying up to 20% in order to have their games marketed by influencer. Epic also takes a 12% of the cut of the revenue for games sold on the storefront, with a supported creator program being optional. As of right now, the pricing system is also optional, so devs are able to decide if they want to give influencers anything from 0 to 100% of the revenue for every game they help sell. Well, at least they're limiting it to 100%. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody figures out a scheme where they're doing 200% of the revenue. Galionkin on Twitter said, quote, "Right now a significant part of marketing budgets of big games is allocated to pay influencers." Is that really true? I don't think so. Well, I mean, I guess a significant amount is a debatable phrase, but these are one-off deals, I think, of having away the influencers.
Ready for action!
Like, if we, as this is phrased right now, if we start seeing people on YouTube or Twitch, maybe some new streaming site that comes out this year, promoting games that are on the Epic Store and on other storefronts, or heavily pushing the fact that they're Epic Store exclusives, that's going to be pretty obvious and pretty slimy. So I kind of don't see that happening. I don't expect to see a lot of that. Let's see. I think I can do this.
Job's done.
GameIndustry.biz has a different article. Dusk, DUSK, sells 69,420 copies as a Steam exclusive. That seems like a made-up number. 69,420. Producer Dave Oshry offers breakdown of Indie's quote on-brand sales number just over a month after launch. So, what's interesting about this article and why I even looked at it is that this is a Steam exclusive game that I would be interested in knowing just what an average Steam game that's good makes in a month, or as far as the number of sales. And that's a very like weird number we'll probably never really get. That being said, there's also 30,000 games now on Steam, so and I think about 3,000 of them are ones I'd like to play. So at most, you're talking 10% of everything is quality. There might be some different reasons why that's not completely accurate, though. There might be 30,000 apps on Steam that play a little bit differently, or 30,000 games, but several, like half of them are no longer available for sale, or they're duplicates, or like, you could get that number, manipulate that number quite a bit. Let's see.
I want you, and you.
The game is a Steam exclusive. Dusk is a Steam exclusive and has not been on sale, barring a 15% launch discount that happened to coincide with the Steam's winter sale. The game sold on average 1,100 copies per day during the sale, and between 200 to 500 people per day at the game's full price on average since the sale ended. Like, the game was on 105,000 wish lists on Steam at its launch, and currently is on around 180,000, so that's nearly doubled. He points out that wish lists are a major metric for determining consumer interest on Steam, saying that Dusk's conversion rate from wish list is around 15%. So 15% of people who had it on their wish list have bought it. And the way I use my wish list, it's kind of this infinite amount of time wish list. So like, I might have something on my wish list for years and years and years and decide to buy it. Gamer Sutra has an article. There are now 30,000 games on Steam. I just was talking about that, but we might as well mention that too. Let's do this. I apparently have no more Murlocs. An updated tally count can be found by searching for nothing at all on the Steam store and then narrowing down the search to only include games and opting out of any interest-based filtering. At the time of writing, that gives you 30,067. And a database with 30,000 entries isn't particularly a large database. For whatever that matters, it just is an indicator that, by the way, there could be a lot more in an SQL database and a lot more games.
My hand is too full.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those milestones, though. Yeah, Steam now has 30,000 games, so what? You know, it's not like there's been a great year. If anything, I would argue that last year, while it did come out with a lot of games, a lot of them were bad or buggy or had problems, and they weren't particularly focused around they weren't even particularly games that were focused around the PC market. So yeah, that's a number, and that's pretty much all you can say about it. And victory. Might as well take the victory. Next we have an article from Gamma Sutra.
Incredible.
Red Dead 2 sparks legal tussle between Take-Two and the real-world Pinkertons. Now, I didn't know the Pinkertons still existed. They shouldn't. Like, as this police force for hire that was used to crush unions in decades previous in the United States, it shouldn't it exist. They're calling it the Pinkerton Detective Agency. That's not what they were used for. I don't know why anybody would use the word Pinkerton. It's a dirty word. I guess maybe people have forgotten that. Many would argue that even the city-run, state-run, county-run police act too much like Pinkertons, protecting the property of rich people and not doing anything to protect the lives or property of poor people. And that is certainly part of the article argument of two different justice systems or two different worlds, whether you're rich or not. Let's see. The article says Pinkerton agents feature heavily in Red Dead 2 and will pursue the player and the ragtag band of outlaws across the Wild West in an attempt to bring them to justice. Let's see. The organization has also been spotlighted in other works of media, including movies and televisions like 310 to Yuma, Deadwood, The Legend of Zorro, Ripper Street, and games such as BioShock Infinite and the original Red Dead Redemption. For whatever reason, however, which could have something to do with Red Dead's extraordinary success, Pinkerton Consulting and Investigations has now decided to take issue with its usage in Rockstar's open world sequel. As reported by The Verge, the company sent a cease and desist letter to Take-Two last week demanding royalties for the use of the Pinkerton name in-game. Yeah, right. That's not gonna happen. Take-Two's seen more than its fair share of lawsuits and won almost all of them, if I recall correctly.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
Although the letter praised Rockstar's clear affection for the Pinkertons company, it also claimed Red Dead 2's was trading on the goodwill associated with this trademark. Quote, goodwill. I think that is laughable. Now, to be fair, in Red Dead Redemption 2, you're playing as a bad guy, and so the Pinkertons are going after bad guys, but that's not what I know them for. As you might have guessed, Take-Two has refused to play ball and is now suing Pinkerton Consulting Investigation for trying to profit off Red Dead 2's success in claiming the game is protected by the First Amendment. Defendants claim that to hold trademark rights to names Pinkerton Detective Agency and Pinkerton, which are used in Red Dead Redemption. Defendants assert that plaintiffs have infringed the right by referencing the historical Pinkerton National Detective Agency and Pinkerton agents, and using the Pinkerton National Detective Agency's historical badge in the game, explained in Take-Two's court filing. Man, anytime I complained about this last stream, but seriously, anytime you're quoting somebody, just put who's speaking first, particularly when you're starting a new paragraph. there's another quote here. By doing so, defendants ignore well-established First Amendment principles that protect expressive works like Red Dead Redemption from exactly the type of claims the defendant have lodged against the plaintiffs. But simply, defendants cannot use trademark law to own the past and prevent creators from including historical references to Pinkerton agents in depictions of the American West. Yeah, this is not a case that would should make it to a court. Like, ridiculous. Gamasutra has another article. The Writers Guild crowns Reigns Her Majesty for the best writing in video game. Written by Leigh Alexander, a former Gamasutra editor. I don't know. The Writers Guild of Great Britain did this, so yeah, I don't know how much influence or importance that really gives any of them. Let's do that. And let's do that. Let's see. Go. Other nominees included FIFA's 19 narrative-driven story mode, The Journey Champions. Apparently also included the narrative puzzle game, The Spectrum Retreat. So, I guess the weird thing here in particular is if this is maybe just games written by British people that are available to win the award, that might severely limit it. But also, if I'm trying to think back about games that had great story in 2018, I don't really recall anything that had an amazingly good storyline. Yeah, it's kind of hard. If like, I doubt you'd want to give it to Detroit Becoming Human, and Red Dead Redemption might be, yeah, a decent storyline, but yeah, I would argue, yeah, if you compare it to Red Dead Redemption 2, Reigns Her Majesty probably has significantly less writing, and thus, just with having such a smaller amount of writing, I feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 probably deserves to win a writing award. But I really don't have anything negative to say about Reigns Her Majesty. I think I own it, and I plan on covering it. I hear it's written a lot better and just a better game than the first Reigns game, which I didn't find particularly interesting. GameIndustry.biz has an article. The US Canada saw more mobile games in 2018. Number of mobile gamers saw more mobile gamers. The number of mobile gamers increased 5% year over year. Android remains most popular smartphone option. This is pretty much an inside baseball article. Otherwise, like, yeah, that sounds cool. Sounds realistic. That 5% might be 100% Fortnite. Just Fortnite. Kids getting into Fortnite. Yeah, that kind of is totally what I bet it is.
Job's done.
Next, we have a game on Steam called The Spell, a kinetic novel, which is a visual novel. It seems like it's actually well animated, somewhat. Wow, look at the height difference on these characters. Like, full grown adult, 12-year-old, 10-year-old. or man suffering from giantism. I mean, he is kind of to scale, clearly somewhere around approaching 7 feet tall if you look at the background art, whereas she's looking at it like 4 feet height. But here you see there's a slightly better scale. Yeah, this looks like this is set in elementary school, and not really a Japanese elementary school either. This looks like maybe that's why this game got approved, is it's only the Japanese school outfits, and these screenshots are really not indicative of the video. It's English only, so attack. Sorry, took too long. Alright, so I wanted to just show off this video because, you know, after the death of her parents, Alice is forced to live with her uncle, though she is reluctant to the idea. She soon finds out it's not nearly as bad as she had envisioned, that is until she found a weird note concerning her parents' deaths next to the garbage bin. So, yeah, seems like maybe the uncle killed the parents. And just getting little flashes. And a gun, so she's gonna end up shooting the uncle, it seems like. 60,000 word story, original soundtrack, English only. Well, I guess I'll put it on the fall list as a visual novel. There's things certainly that can be said here. This game is not tagged with any adult content, so we'll just have to wait and see if anybody has anything to say about it. So yeah, moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Shadow of the Tomb Raider DLC, The Nightmare, launches January 22. Explore Croft Manor in a harrowing trial. The Nightmare was basically the exact same thing in the previous Lara Croft game, so it seems like they're just doing the same thing, and frankly, I was so bored with Lara Croft, I didn't even do those extra modes in Rise of the Tomb Raider, so I don't see a real reason why this adds anything more to the gameplay. It's kind of ridiculous that DLC is even coming out for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I thought it was done. There's no mention of when Shadow of the Tomb Raider came out, but it feels like it's been 6 months. And there just kind of needs to be a rethinking of how you're going to do things going forward. I don't know how to phrase that better, but yeah, there's just like an issue of there being too much in the Tomb Raider games that don't feel enough like Tomb Raider. The whole Square Enix just cramming multiplayer and survival modes and zombie modes. It's just, in the bow and arrow made sense and it was cool in the first game, and it had to follow the entire trilogy, but it got overemphasized. The upgrades on the other weapons and the running and gunning got a little overemphasized too. But yeah, I was very shocked to see that there was a new Tomb Raider DLC. Like I would have rushed out any Tomb Raider DLC if I could, as fast as possible. But as soon as I saw the game wasn't particularly coming out as the greatest thing ever, like Rise of the Tomb Raider could have been a game of the year, certainly for last year. Like that totally, it was a possibility. Next, we have a game on Steam called Microsoft Maquette. It says it's from Microsoft Corporation, so I assume this is actually a Microsoft product. We'll click on that because Microsoft has been putting some things on Steam. They're kind of getting away from Windows Store exclusives. This is some kind of beta for free that lets you build things, kind of build dioramas, build display cases, it seems like, in VR, which inherently it would be easier to build a VR display case or anything in VR, be easier to build something for VR outside of VR than it would be to build it in VR, because that's kind of the problem, is VR doesn't work well even with itself.
Job's done.
Freezing trap, darn it. Since this is a free thing and since it's a VR thing, I don't see a reason for this to be on the wish list, though. But it is always interesting to see Microsoft publish new things. But when I'm clicking on Microsoft Corporation as the developer and publisher, it's not bringing up any of the other Microsoft things. So this feels like this might not actually be you know, Microsoft. This feels like this might be a company pretending to be Microsoft. That's kind of weird. Microsoft, everybody has Windows, but if you ask me what Microsoft's logo looked like, I couldn't tell you. They've done such a bad job of making that prevalent. Like, I can tell you the Apple logo is an apple with an apple built out of it. The Microsoft logo, is it the Windows logo with the 4 windows that are wavy? I don't think that is. So, yeah, I couldn't... They have, like, no identifying trademark that is recognizable. Alright, well, we've been going an hour and 20 minutes. It's time to break up the episodes. This will be the first time in a few weeks in which we've actually broke up episodes. So, as always, stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, if you're watching recorded, I ask that you like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam, gift me a game off my wish list, or you can donate through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.